So first of all, I wanted to thank you all for coming tonight. This is the first time I've gotten to come to the community leaders meeting, and I think this is a fantastic idea to get neighborhood leaders together on the phone, sharing ideas, and or not on the phone, on video. But Autumn is going.
Okay.
Autumn's going to put some content. Autumn, can you tell who needs to be muted?
Yeah, we just did.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. So when we first launched this neighborhood engagement program, let me get my notes back. We realized that there are many community members that serve, whether officially or unofficially, as just champions for their neighborhoods, like you all do. You know your neighbors best, and we're here to listen and find out about the people that live in your community and what is going on. So we really appreciate the fact that you are partnering with us. I'll tell you a little bit about the meeting format if you haven't been on this one before, WebEx. Whether you have called in or you're joining us via video, everyone should be muted at this time, and you are more than welcome and encouraged to use your video during the call. We like to see your face. The video button is next to the mute button at the bottom. If someone is not on video, you will just see a circle with their initials. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll also see a list of participants along with an option for you to raise your hand. But if our number stays small like this, I think I'll be able to just keep an eye on everybody, and you can just flag me if you want me to stop or get more information. If you've just joined us by phone, you will not be able to unmute yourself. You can press *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on you that way, and then press *3 again to lower your hand, and we'll be able to unmute you. And we are recording this tonight because we would love to share this with people who didn't get to join us. So I'm expecting a few council members tonight, but no, I don't have my list up right now to see. I do know that Deputy Council President Chris Ray has joined us from the Taos neighborhood. And Autumn, are there any other council members with us? Not yet? Okay, thanks. I would love to give our Deputy Council President a chance to introduce himself, tell us how long he served on council, and tell us where his favorite beach is. There you go, Chris. There's a new one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Ray. I have the pleasure or privilege of serving as the council's deputy president this year. I have lived in the Issaquah area. I lived in the Issaquah area on the plateau back when it was Issaquah. So I moved here in 1991. So kind of long roots, deep roots here. Moved to Issaquah proper in 2008. To Taos, still live in Taos. Love Taos. Best neighborhood in all of Issaquah, right, Brookie? So no, it's super great. I've been on the city council for pushing 3 years right now. So it has been an incredibly humbling and enriching experience. I've learned more than I can ever imagine, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to work with some just amazing people. And my favorite beach in the world is in Da Nang, Vietnam. It was what during the Vietnam War, where the United States had a big R&R center. It's called China Beach, and it is absolutely the most gorgeous white sand beach you'd ever want to see, and it goes forever.
Chris, you're awesome. Autumn, if you notice that any of the other council members join us, please interrupt me so that I can introduce them. Chris knows my little game. I always ask our council members a question that they don't know I'm going to ask them, so that you can learn a little bit about them. We also have some of our city staff here tonight. I have two folks from communications. Our assistant to the city administrator, Autumn Monahan. She's sort of running the dashboard here. And our communications coordinator, Thomas Rush. Welcome, Thomas. Do you know if we are going to be joined tonight by the city administrator? Potentially? Because I'm not saying.
I'll
okay,
also
great.
introduce him if he joins.
That would be great. Thanks very much. So what we'd like to do is hear from each of you, and when Autumn calls out your name and unmute you, please introduce yourself and share what neighborhood you are from and how long you've lived in Issaquah And guess what? Your favorite beach. Yes.
Great. First is Ann Hall.
Here, let me put my video on. Hi.
Hi, Ann.
How are you? Let's see. I'm in South Cove, part of South Lake Sammamish, and my favorite beach is right out my backyard.
Oh, hard to beat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ann. Next is Brookie.
Hi there. My name is Brookie Scholl, and I live in the Tallis neighborhood, and I've lived in Issaquah for about 7 years from Chicago originally. And my favorite beach is any beach. I can't think of any beach I wouldn't want to go to right now, but since we can't, I'll take any beach.
Thanks, Brookie. Next is Chris. Chris, can you hear us? Well, maybe we'll skip Chris and go next to Christy. You can see I'm going in alphabetical order here.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Christy Garrard. I'm the Executive Director for Issaquah Highlands Council. I have lived in Issaquah here in the Highlands since 2007. And I'm originally from Florida, so I've had a lot of exposure to amazing beaches around the coast of Florida and in the Caribbean. But I have to tell you that a couple years ago, my husband Alex and I got to enjoy a trip to the Headlands down in Oregon and fell in love with everything about that part of the country. So I'd say the Headlands.
Thanks, Christy. Next is Hart. Hi, Hart.
Good evening. I'm Hart Sugarman, and I live in the Summerhill neighborhood, just off of Newport Way. And I'm the Homeowners Association Secretary, representing 55 homeowners. And yeah, I lived in many cities and countries, moved here from Singapore 25 years ago, identified Issaquah right off the bat as the best place to live. And that's where my home is now. Lived in Kauai, Hawaii for 5 years, and I have to say any beach on Kauai is paradise.
Thanks, Hart. Let's see. Lee?
Yeah, so I think we're unmuted. This is David Bangs, and Lee and I both RSVP'd independently for this meeting and didn't know, so that's why I blurted out, Lee, come over, and she says, no, I'm going to log in on the computer. But anyway, so we've lived in the South Cove neighborhood for, I think it's coming up on 23 years. And I was once president of the South Cove neighborhood, and I founded an organization which we decided to call the South Lake Sammamish Association. So that's when one day it occurred to me that we lived on the south end of Lake Sammamish, and so that was a good name. So anyway, so we ran the annexation drive. So we've been part of Issaquah since 2005 now. And though I was president of South Cove and the South Lake Sammamish Association, I've been rotated off for quite a while. So I'm not sure that I can be called a neighborhood leader anymore. But my wife, Lee, was on the Rivers and Streams Board, partly because we live on our favorite beach on Lake Sammamish. So.
Great, thank you. And lastly, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm Sarah Hoy. I'm the Executive Director for the Issaquah Highlands Community Association. Christy and I work closely together on all things in the community. And I have been here since 2015. I got recruited when they needed a new director. Originally from Boston, grew up in the Chicago area, Glen Ellen. I don't know where you're from, Burke. Then was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Santa Fe area for a number of years, and then moved up here. So my favorite beach is probably Sandy Neck Beach on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I have a lot of family there, and it's quite the fun place. But I do agree that Hanalei Bay on Kauai is absolutely amazing. So those are my favorites.
Thanks, Sarah. And I just got an email from Chris, who's representing Timberlake Lane, who's here to listen and participate, but has some kiddo sound in the background, which I completely understand. Mine are taking a walk right now for that reason.
Oh, that is great. Thank you for doing that, Autumn. So I had a couple of big topics I was going to cover. I'm probably going to move through them a little faster. That doesn't mean that you can't ask me questions or we can come back to it later. I just know that many of you that I'm seeing here today are pretty in tune with some of the big stories in town. So obviously the COVID-19 response is still the biggest story, unfortunately, 6 months later. We are following the governor's Safe Start plan, and we are in phase 2.x. We don't really know where we are, somewhere in the spectrum there. I think most of us are pretty aware of the limitations that has put on people's use of the outdoors, restaurants and stores, et cetera. It's been hard for the community. It's been hard for businesses. It's been hard for the school district and for parents who have schools at home. There's just hardship all around, but the community has really taken up the challenge quite well. And I hear more good, heartwarming stories than I do complaining or disappointment with what's going on. So I've got to say the community's been very positive and responsive to the things that we've been doing. Right after it started, I put together a new task force of community members called the Issaquah Recovery Task Force, and a really diverse cross-section of volunteers, some that we know from before and some that are brand new. And they helped me look at steps in reopening Issaquah. They were like my sounding board on things like streetery, park signage, how we communicate with the community. We talked a lot about, we had the King County Department of Health director come and give them an update on the status of where we were within the pandemic and where we might be going. We had some businesses in town come and speak about the challenges they're facing and potential ways that the city could help. And so I told them when I asked them that I was asking for just 2 months commitment. At our 2 meetings ago, I asked them if they'd stick with me through December because I really want them to help me do the recovery part of coming out of the pandemic. We're still in it. We are post-response to a significant degree, but we are not thoroughly into recovery. So, to my joy, everybody stayed, which is great. So at some point, I'm going to publicize what our recovery plan is when we get into the development of it. But right now, we're still talking about some response measures and some early recovery things that we can do. If you have any questions about the pandemic and our response and where we are right now, feel free to ask some questions or raise your hand in the chat and Autumn will let me know. That it's been difficult, but also has shown us how we pull together when we need to, which has been really great. Autumn and her team have a lot of information on the issaquahwa.gov /COVID-19 website, if I haven't provided you enough tonight. On Tuesday night, I'm going to present my, oh, thanks. There's a picture of the streetery. Let's put that back. That's like my favorite thing. A couple of things I forgot to mention is the streetery has been wildly popular. I'll maybe talk about it in my budget notes, not sure, but the city funded some of the stuff that you see out there in terms of barriers and signs in order to help the businesses create it. We used some CARES Act dollars that the state had given us. We are now going to open that up broader and kind of hoping that restaurants in other commercial areas decide to expand either into their parking lots or onto sidewalks. So, but the street has been fantastic. And then Autumn, what was your next slide there? Yes, one of the things we talked about in this Issaquah Recovery Task Force with our business development manager, Jen, was how can we help businesses? And so Issaquah Loyal campaign was born, and it's been very popular, a lot of good signage up. This isn't a time for us to be going to other towns and cities to enjoy things necessarily. So we're encouraging our residents to, if you're going to venture outside and go for a stroll or enjoy a business, do it in town and help our local businesses out. They are struggling and I really like the program that Jen came up with and the graphics that Autumn and her team have made part of the posters and the banners and stuff. It looks fantastic. So Autumn, do you have another slide on that, or are we moving into budget? Okay, so this is the time of year the mayor presents a draft budget and council reviews, approves, and edits if they so choose to. So that's going to be I'm going to be presenting to council on Tuesday night. Right after the pandemic began, we started to try and figure out during the shutdown, stay-home order, what the potential economic impact might be. With very little data, we estimated that we might be down about $10 million in revenues, which is quite significant in 2020 alone, and that was a 20% reduction. So we needed to take action at City Hall to reduce our expenditures so that we didn't go into, reserves to the tune of $10 million, which would be a significant decision. So we focused on maintaining our core city obligations of public safety and public infrastructure, and then pretty much did a lot of cuts in all other areas of service. So we reduced our spending by $5.6 million, but also included the layoff of 23 really great employees. And I will tell you, there's nothing more awful than having good people who are good at their job and not being able to afford to keep them. So that was quite heartbreaking. And these measures that we took a little earlier than most other cities have sort of put us in a different position this budget season than what you might be hearing out in other areas, where either at the state level or at the county level or other cities who didn't take early expenditure reductions and are now trying to figure out what to do during this budget season. I thought it was really important, not knowing how long the pandemic would go on or how long the economic damage from the pandemic would continue to impact our community. And I just wanted to make sure that we still would have reserves in order to weather a storm that might be more than a few months long. Maybe the storm is 3 years long. We don't know yet. So I'll be presenting it next Tuesday. The top priorities that I've included in it is thank you, Autumn, for putting that up, is a focus on creating a safe and equitable community for all, investing in our parks and open spaces, and some transportation improvements. So 6 p.m. next week will be the budget, and then council deliberations for a few weeks after that. We're going to host a virtual community meeting that you might want to let your neighborhood neighbors know about to collect community feedback during this process at 6 p.m. on October 7th. So as the details start to trickle out and people have questions or comments or requests, that would be a great time to point them towards that meeting. One of the other items I had on here was the dog park. Ever since I've moved here, I was hoping that we would have a dog park, and I've been here 27 years. So the city is working on putting a dog park in town. The design and construction of a dog park is probably not within the realm of the near future for us because of the cost that it would incur. But we've had a lot of outreach with the community, and we just popped a new idea on them a few weeks ago, just in line with our response to COVID and reopening the parks. Is there a way that we can do this in a more temporary pilot way that still allows people extra opportunities to get outside and get outside with their dogs? So we're thinking of doing pop-up dog parks throughout the year. These would be parks that would show up and be set up for a 2 to 4 month period at a site. It'll allow us to collect information from different neighborhoods about usage, and it will inform us in terms of, for our permanent dog park, what a good site location might be. Also, during this time, the rainy time that's coming up, we want to find things that people want to go to outside so that they continue to spend time out in the fresh air and spend time outside in parks. The locations that they're considering right now are Field 4 at Tibbetts Valley Park, the Pickering Barnes Field, Squaw Valley Park South. I'm going too fast for Autumn. Squaw Valley Park South, which is at the south end of town, just at our southern boundary on Issaquah Hobart Road, and the Issaquah Community Center Old Skate Park location. So those are the 4 that the Parks and Recreation team and our Director of Parks and Community Services are talking about with our Parks Board. And we hope to get that going. I believe I see our city administrator may have joined us. We hope to get that going within 4 to 6 weeks. So this isn't in the future. This is for this winter. We really need to get some things going on. So we'll keep you up to date on that. I'm just going to check back in with, and there's information on our website if you're interested at issaquahwa.gov/dog park. And Autumn, I wanted to check back in with you and see if we had any additional staff or council members show up before I hand it over to you.
Yes, Councilmember Goodman has also joined us.
Oh, that's fantastic. She'll love it that I will prompt her to answer one of my probing questions. Hi, Stacey.
Oh, hi. Hi, everybody.
So what we've been doing tonight is having you introduce yourself, say how long you've been on council, tell us what neighborhood you live in. And I even hate asking you this question because I don't know how you're going to be able to pick, but what is your favorite beach?
Oh, does it have to be in Washington?
No, it does not have to be in Washington.
I'm Stacy Goodman, and I've been on the council since 2011. And I live in the Grandview Park area of Issaquah Highlands. I've been here since 2005. And before that, we lived in downtown Issaquah for a couple years while we were building our house. And then we lived for 17 years in Miramont on Tiger Mountain. My favorite beach. So I'm a hot weather person. I can't pick a favorite.
That's what I was worried about. This could take all night.
Well, most everything in the Caribbean, Bora Bora is amazing, and the Greek islands have amazing beaches. How's that?
No, I said one. You went picked way too many. No, I'm kidding. You're fine. Fine. My inside joke with Councilmember Goodman is that, well, for one, I don't have a favorite beach because I'm not a beach person and I don't like hot weather. But if you ask me where my favorite snowy mountaintop or ski hill is, I got lots of choices for that. So we get to poke each other all the time because she is passionate about her warm weather vacations and her beaches.
Yeah.
Welcome, Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you.
So I just went through a quick update on a few topics, COVID, the budget, and a little thing about pop-up dog parks. And I'm going to turn it over now to Autumn. Autumn has a few things she'd like to share, and then we'd just love to open it up for dialogue.
Thanks, Mayor Polly, for those updates. Just wanted to share a few quick opportunities for neighborhoods to get involved in some community projects. First is our call for some artwork that will be used to create some Issaquah-specific face masks. So we're asking students in pre-K through 12th grade to submit their own artwork, and we plan to feature all of the submitted designs on social media soon. And then our Arts Commission will be selecting a few of those submissions to be actually printed on some masks and then sold to help benefit some local human service nonprofits. So the deadline is coming up September 30th, and those whose designs are selected will also receive a $250 reward. More info is on our website at issaquahwa.gov/arts. And speaking of art, we also have a second project that we're partnering with Eastside Fire and Rescue on called Project Ignite. And the idea is to spread kindness and joy through art. So you can submit artwork of all types to our fire department, and they're displaying it throughout the community. You'll see it at fire stations, at popular intersections around town, and we're joining several other neighboring cities too on this project. So you'll see it throughout the region. There's no deadline for this. We're just going to keep going as long as people want to submit art. So please help us promote those two opportunities within your neighborhoods. All right, next, the hot topic of Halloween, which I think is why several of you are here tonight, Christy. So thank you, Mayor Polly. She just alerted me to the fact that yesterday the CDC came out with guidance on Halloween activities, and they rated them low, medium, and high risk. So as I've told my kiddos several times that COVID-19 doesn't take holidays. As one of the high risk items, we have just learned that traditional trick-or-treating is on that list as far as high risk. So I've just copy and pasted here on this screen what are activities that we should be avoiding this year during coronavirus. So along with the traditional trick-or-treating, some other things that I've heard do happen in Issaquah include the trunk or treat, where you go to different folks' cars. I know that happens at my kids' school. That's also on the high risk activity. Attending crowded costume parties or any indoor parties, going to any indoor haunted houses. I was looking through the guidance, anything where people are screaming is not a good thing. So, which makes sense, right? With this viral, or with this being a respiratory disease. So there was a lot of warnings about screaming, or areas where people might be screaming near each other. So this is the list of high risk activities. There was also a medium risk, which I did not include on here tonight. And the reason why is that this is from the CDC as far as guidance. I've been in touch with King County Public Health, and that is our main public health agency. And they assess what's risk, what's not, what's medium risk, and kind of that gray area for our county based on caseload and several other factors. And so I've been in touch with them and was pushing them quite frequently before this meeting to provide some guidance to King County. They're not quite there yet, so they still want to see case counts. So I didn't put the medium risk on here just because it is very much a gray area. As I hear more guidance from King County, I will share it with our neighborhood champions and as well as the rest of the community. I'll be doing a whole lot of outreach around what is considered safe versus not here in King County. So now that I've gotten through the high risk activities and kind of the bad news, what are some fun, exciting things we can do for Halloween? So here's a list from the CDC of ideas. And again, I'll share this list with everyone so you can copy and paste it and send it to your neighborhoods as well. But anything involving fun activities at home that are celebrating the holiday, carving pumpkins, going crazy with Halloween decorations in your neighborhood and at your home. I really liked this idea, but setting up a scavenger hunt, which I think Talus has done before on different occasions, where you give your kids a list of things to look for, like pumpkins or witches, and then walk around the neighborhood and do a scavenger hunt where you look at decorations and can check off what you find. Having virtual events with your community, having a movie night with your family, and having scavenger hunt, which I think we'll do at our house, where we'll hide candy in our yard and throughout our house and have the kids collect candy that way. There are a few other ideas that are specific to Issaquah. The Downtown Issaquah Association is continuing on with Zombie Walk, but it will be virtual. And I'm not quite sure how that will work out yet, but I can't wait to screenshot it and share that with the community. We'll see what that looks like. I think they're still working out the details, but they have shared the time and the date. So I will share more details as we have them as far as how to connect to that virtual party. But I'm excited that tradition will live on, but in a different way. I have heard of several communities that are organizing some neighborhood decoration contests, including the Issaquah Highlands, and then maybe Talus. I know, Bricky, you've been talking a lot about decorations in Talus too. So, organizing a way that people can vote or even just share fun pockets in your community to go look at Halloween decorations. Simply mailing cards or gifts to your family and friends is always a fun way to celebrate the holiday. And then lastly, booing your neighbors, which is something that I just educated our city administrator on, as he didn't know about this tradition, but there are several neighborhoods in Issaquah that already do this tradition. I learned of it as I moved to Issaquah too. And so the idea is that you create little care packages. There can be prepackaged treats or cards or Halloween decorations, and you print off a little poster, a note like the one that's on this screen, and you leave it on a neighbor's doorstep. So you do that for 2 neighbors. Once they receive the boo package, they cut out this sign and paste it in their window, and then they spread on the fun and boo 2 more of their neighborhoods. And this typically starts in my neighborhood the very beginning of October and can last all the way through the month. And it's very fun to walk around your neighborhood and see everyone with the signs where everyone has reached out to each other, and we can do that in a very safe way. We're thinking this Halloween. So I am posting this poster up on our website soon, along with a whole bunch of ideas. And I'm just hoping that folks can help us promote building community and building just neighborhood connections, but in a safe way for Halloween. So that's what I have come up with so far, but I would love to open it up to everyone here who also have ideas to share. I'd love to hear what other neighborhoods are doing or things that we can kind of share as far as ideas. So with that, let me stop sharing my screen. And Christy, I saw you raised your hand. There you go.
Okay. You can hear me now.
Yeah.
So I live in Issaquah Highlands and I live in the Dahlia Park neighborhood. And we do the booing thing, but we also do the you've been boozed. And so the kids get a little treat, and then we also have a whole circular thing in our neighborhood about leaving a bottle of wine for someone and calling it "You've been boozed," and then we keep that fun going in Dahlia Park, and we do elf on a top shelf, and we deliver booze for Christmas too, for December too. So. And you get a little elf and you tie him around the top of a bottle or whatever. And then you receive that bottle of whatever you get. And then you pass it forward with the little elf. And then whoever ends up with the elf at Christmas is responsible for starting the tradition the following year.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it.
Last year was the first year I learned what this was because they did it in our neighborhood, and Carl and I just ate the treats and didn't do anything, and knock on the door a few days later about, that's not the way. But this you've been boozed thing is hilarious. That is just
especially if you live in a neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of kids. I mean, we have a lot of kids too, but it's a great way to keep the spirit going.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have other plans yet? I can't believe it's time to think about Halloween, but here we are. Yes, Brookie, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks for sharing all those ideas. We've been trying to canvass the neighborhood and figure out some things to do. I think we've kind of narrowed it down to we're going to beef up all of our decorations. We're going to try to do some sort of a contest, but also we will do our own decorations kind of in the common areas. So we're talking about that, which we've never done before. We're talking about doing a scavenger hunt, as you said, trying to figure out the logistics of how you leave the treats, especially in an area where the bears are. So we're thinking through that. And then we're also thinking through a reverse trick or treat where we have kind of map out, here's the neighborhood, here's when we think we'll be at certain areas of the neighborhood, and have volunteers that are willing to drive and kind of hand out candy that way. And so the kids come out in their costumes, but there's no touching and, that kind of stuff. So we're talking through those things right now.
Great. Thank you, Brookie. And yes, Christy.
Well, I love the reverse trick or treat idea, Brookie. I think that is just really great. I mean, if we could get people just leaving treats on their neighbors' steps, I think that's awesome. We've done scavenger hunts in Issaquah Highlands over the summer, and they weren't so much treat related, but taking photos of a list of things on the scavenger hunt, and then sending us those photos, and then you get entered into a drawing to win a prize. So that might be a way to get around worrying about treats and bears. But happy to talk with you, offline if you want more information on how we manage that.
Christy, I saw for the best decorations in the Highlands, you could win a Glassy Baby.
Yeah.
My favorite.
I know. What a great gift. Huh?
Yeah,
a prize, right?
I wish. Yeah.
Not only that, but it has our community logo on it. So they're
awesome.
They're special. Yeah.
Great. Well, as your neighborhoods firm up plans for Halloween, please let me know. I'm going to continue to build on our webpage once I get this booed sign up on it, along with some ideas. So I will keep the dialogue going with this group and with our other neighborhood champions too.
I think it's just really important that, the community's already talking about it. It's been a really big topic on our unofficial social media. And I think Sarah would probably agree. We want to follow the lead of the city in whatever decision is made, but the community is looking for the city to make a statement. So
yeah. And you know, we look to the guidance of public health when it comes to health, you know, and in my initial discussions too with public health, their guidance right now is we're still in phase 2. So
Right.
follow all the same guidance that is in phase 2. So the ideas I shared tonight are the ones that we know are the safest, and whether there are others that King County say would be okay to do, I think is still unclear, but we know that at least that list from the CDC is safe items that, you know, we can pick from.
Yeah.
And I do hope this boot idea can spread to some other neighborhoods that may not have before. So we'll see.
Great.
Great. Well, that was it for Halloween. We had one last topic. And that is just around neighborhood engagement. So this graphic we created several years ago with neighborhood champions who helped articulate what was their neighborhood or their community to them. And we created this with the help of an artist. We have it hanging at City Hall, and we've used it at many events. But I put this graphic up and just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the fact that a lot of our lives have definitely changed in the past year, as well as our neighborhoods and our communities and our city. And so I just wanted to take a moment to ask, what can we as a city do better, or how can we help you as neighborhoods? So just wanted to open it up and see if anyone had topics that they wanted to bring up or areas that we could help on.
Oh, hi. I wasn't sure if we could unmute ourselves. I was president of a neighborhood called South Cove. But it's been confusing because we are a number of different neighborhoods, each with its own name. So there's 289 houses that are in what's called South Cove, and then there's another neighborhood called Greenwood Point and one called Muirwood. And we decided to use the name South Lake Sammamish to refer to all of us. And the reason that's important is because we actually have things like parks, which are private to only people who live in South Cove. There's another park that's private to people who live in Greenwood Point. And there are people who get confused when, for example, the city of Issaquah tells them they live in South Cove, and then somebody else tells them that they're not part of South Cove. So I've always thought that was confusing, and that's why we have the name South Lake Sammamish.
Autumn, I would love to talk to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really great this year to get Ann Hall's son on our council. So Zach Hall, who's lived in South Cove his entire life, educated us on the South Lake Sammamish communities. And we are trying to change that throughout wherever we're talking about neighborhoods now, we're using the collection name instead of South Cove, because we realize a lot of our older figures call that whole area South Cove. So we're working towards getting everybody to reference all of those neighborhoods as a collection, the South Lake Sammamish community. So we're working on that.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else have any feedback or issues or wishes? Yeah, Christy.
I had an idea for the Issaquah Loyal campaign. I know that, you know, this is a consumer confidence campaign. And I wonder, is there a way to include those little decals in mailings from the city? So in our utility bills or those types of things, to actually get them out in the hands of residents.
Very good point. We just placed a second order on clings because we've run out. So yes, in fact, we have a lot of clings. So I was just brainstorming that actually yesterday with Jen Davis Hayes as far as ways we can get more out into our community. And so that's a great idea to look into utility bills or in other mailings.
It shouldn't up the postage at all. And, you know, a lot of people like my husband and I are not going out, you know, to a lot of businesses and that sort of thing. So I think it could be fun.
Something fun on your utility bill.
Yeah. I like that, Christy. That's great. And actually, I forgot to cover this too. And the council last night approved a second allocation of CARES Act dollars. We received 1.1 million in the first round, 565,000, I think, in the second round. And we are looking for to be able to support restaurants or businesses that want to winterize, temporarily build something outside that allows them to expand their space, because it's been working so far. We're waiting to see what the response is like in the community. Front Street has been doing it for a while, but there's also been Tutabella down by Commons, Enzo's Bistro on Gilman wants to do it. I would love you to, if you're, I know in the Highlands, definitely you have your commercial area. I'd kind of love to see that opportunity in as many of our commercial areas as possible. It would be great if you encourage restaurants that you do takeout or anything at to consider looking at that. They may not even know that we're offering it. And council approved all of that last night. So we want to keep investing in opportunities for the businesses that provide a great community benefit too. Thank you, council, for approving it. Lee?
Yes, Lee.
Has everything, Salmon Days, has that all been canceled? I think there's still a turkey trot somehow, but is there anything else?
Yeah. As far as I know, Autumn, isn't it a virtual turkey trot that we're doing, or do you have
Hey,
it?
Multiple routes on multiple days and you pick?
Could be.
Okay.
It
or
could be.
something.
I don't have details on that. I think the Food Bank website would have more, but the chamber has decided not to run Salmon Days because they really couldn't do almost everything. Every single part of Salmon Days has got people and interactions and crowds. But on the Salmon Days typical weekend, the Streetery will be open. Downtown Issaquah Association has been running that for 6 or 7 or 8 weeks right now. And there'll be a lot of volunteers from the chamber wearing Salmon Day shirts, just saying, hey, this is the weekend and we're going to come back next year and all of that. And the Friends of Issaquah Salmon Hatchery that does the tours at the hatchery is trying to find a way, and it's been working really well so far with the state, to create a one-way in, one-way out reservation tour of the hatchery over the next few weeks. So we're pretty excited about that. The salmon actually don't only come on Salmon Days, they come from August to November. So we have some opportunity in there for tours. And they also have some activities on their website, some virtual activities as well, and things you can do around town. And Christy, what did you want to add on Salmon Days?
Yeah. Thank you. So I serve on the Chamber Board of Directors, and I don't think we've done an incredibly good job of getting this information out, but we are still celebrating the return of the salmon. And if you go to salmondays.org, there are a lot of events that are happening virtually that you can get your family involved in. There's coloring contests and rock painting contests and chalk art contests. There was a golf tournament this past Monday. And so there are some things, Lee, that you could direct your neighbors to to just kind of be in the Salmon Day spirit, even though the traditional Salmon Days event's not happening.
Thank you, Christy. That's awesome. The other thing I've been encouraging folks to do, especially when looking for different kinds of walks to do and to get outside, is there are so many bridges in Old Town that cross the creeks, so many opportunities. I've done 3 walks right now. I haven't even been anywhere near the hatchery, and I've seen so many fish. So that's something else too, is just reminding your neighbors, hey, Salmon Days may not be here, but the salmon are here. So go take a walk in Old Town and find those bridges, and fish are back.
Anything else? I see there's...
Yeah, I do have a comment. Sorry, my microphone's weird. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so just very quickly, I want to add on the Halloween decoration contest for those with you with HOAs. Just a word to the wise that you put some parameters around the decorations that are allowed. Last year we had bloody, faux dead bodies hanging from common area trees. So I realized I needed to firm up that language. So that's definitely something to consider. The other thing I really want to talk about briefly is the with the colder weather, obviously, we definitely see an uptick of homelessness in the Highlands. I spoke with Wally and the chief of police today, as a matter of fact, on a new homeless camp that has popped up over by Central Park in the city space, which is in the Highlands also. But that is always an uptick right now as they try to, get some good shelter before it gets really bad. And then we also see a lot of strange activity in Grand Ridge Plaza. At the same time. So sleeping behind dumpsters, hiding out underneath the parking garages and that. So I'll be working very closely with the chief of police to just try to combat some of that stuff. I know it's an extremely difficult and complex issue. Just know that you have the support of IHCA around this. It is a very hot topic on social media right now. And Christy and I will continue to monitor those situations. And, that's just something high on my radar. The other thing too is we have to anticipate that we're going to have a huge influx of package theft again this year, especially with the economy not as great as it was even last year. So I'm wondering, I'd love to hear what the police or any tips that anyone has for package theft. Kirsty at Highlands Council and her team have been working to try to get another Amazon locker up here in the Highlands, which I think would be extremely helpful. I think we could use like 50 of them, but we don't really have the space. So anyway, just those are my two things. Security is always a big thing. And then we always partner with the city for snow removal and stuff. And you guys are always outstanding on that in that capacity. So I just want to say thanks to the city for all your support.
Well, that's great. I know, Autumn, in the past, our police department has put out sort of that pre-Christmas warning, and a lot of it has to do with even just arranging, now that many people are working from home or teaching their kids from home, to just send it to that house of your neighbor who you know is going to be there. So maybe we can look and see if there's some communication piece that we can get out and then let the group know about it so that they can promote it out as well. That'd be great. Thank you, Sarah.
Yep. Thank you.
And thank you to Sarah and Christy for your partnership on, as things are posted on social media, oftentimes the city is not a part, well, we aren't a part of private Facebook conversations or next door conversations. And so when there are hot topics, we rely on neighborhood champions and others to let us know what are some issues that are concerning or that are being brought up among neighborhoods that we can help address. So thank you.
And that would be a great thing for all our community neighborhood leaders to know too, is that reach out to us. Don't assume that we know what is the burning story in your neighborhood. We can post, we cannot see, and I think that's super appropriate, but it also means that you know a whole lot more about what is causing heartburn or excitement in your community. We would love you just to give us a shout, let us know.
I have everyone on speed dial. Everyone's like, what do you want now, Sarah?
That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Anything else? Anyone?
I have a question. How often do we do these meetings? And how often does this group want to do these meetings? Christy?
Well, this is my first one to participate in, and so glad that Sarah and I can both be here. And I think there's great value, especially when we're coming into kind of specific seasons of the year or holiday seasons of the year, and where we can share best practices and learn about reverse trick-or-treating and those kind of and what's working for us that we can share with other neighborhoods too. I just think there's tremendous value in that. So however you want to do the recurrence, but I'm certainly glad to be here.
Well, I guess my thoughts would be, again, coming back in the spring, I think would be good, early spring, but potentially may want to pull this group together when we move to a new phase that has some significant differences in it. So I end up being, the information box for most people in Old Town about what they can and cannot do when we hit a new phase. It'd be awesome to use our neighborhood champions and give you the list of this is now allowed and this is still not allowed. So if we have a major phase change, maybe we ought to consider getting together and just going through that with the neighborhood champions. That might be a great idea.
I can also, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Sarah.
I can also pull in the director for Providence Point. We're in contact closely about just HOA matters, so be happy to reach out to them.
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
I have a pretty good list of who I've deemed neighborhood champions that I invited to this meeting, and I think in the interim too, we can always stay connected via email. So I definitely will follow up, especially with Halloween as things are firmed up a bit more. I was hoping for more details by now, but I will definitely be in contact with this group and with others on our neighborhood list for items as they come up. When we first hosted our neighborhood champions meeting a while back, the feedback we did receive is that everyone, I'm sorry to say, but everyone really enjoyed mostly being able to talk to each other and just socialize with each other, which is a part of connecting neighbors and seeing what everyone's doing and what struggles they may have in their own neighborhood and just sharing that type of information. So it's hard to do in a virtual setting, but we thought this was, especially Halloween was one of the first kind of events we were like, all right, what are folks doing and how do we ensure we can do this in a safe way? But as these type of topics come up, we'll see if I could, I'll send out an email and gauge interest for getting together for a quick virtual call.
And Chris and Ann both had their hands up.
All right, Councilmember.
Yeah. I just wanted to say this is my first time joining, and I am on the HOA board for South Cove, and specifically I run events. So it's been a boring year for me. And so this was great for me to get some ideas for Halloween. I'm happy, and I like Christy's suggestion, or I think it was you, or I can't remember, who just said, seasonally, or, so maybe once a quarter, something like that. So things that are coming up, but also changes to the phases or whatever. So thank you for your ideas.
Thank you, Ann. I would ask too, before we go to Chris for a comment, is be patient with us on the phases. What usually happens is the governor's item comes out and it's quite confusing, and then King County Health weighs in and there's another level of confusion, and it's really 2 to 3 days in before we have that list, because everybody hears the new phase and they want to know right away, and it takes 2 or 3 days to sort it out. Hey, Chris.
So Ann sort of stole my point. So, but I was really riffing on the notion that this isn't so much all about the city talking about what we're doing, but this is about creating the forum for all of our neighborhoods to share information, and the city can provide part of the agenda. But I think that if I was, a community leader, I would want to have an opportunity to communicate and talk with the other neighborhoods in the city and understand what you all are doing and how you're coping with various things. So, for instance, Christy's comment about, or was it Sarah, about, package theft. Well, what are you doing in South Lake Sammamish? Getting my notes correct. But so I think that there's some real value in that. And with the change of seasons, I think just from establishing a regular cadence, if we establish to do these quarterly, that will pick up the season. So schedule them once every 3 months. And then let it grow organically, because Sarah mentioned bringing in Providence Point, and I think there are still a lot of communities in this town that we have not engaged, and I think that there's an opportunity to do that. So I think this is an opportunity for the city to be broker, not to be information provider. And we've learned how to do Zoom and WebEx, etc., and it's not a bad way, because I think a lot of people will Zoom in, but maybe not drive down to. So I think this is I think we've learned some great new skills. So I'm excited about this.
I am part of the East Side Directors Consortium. So I network with Tallis, Ken Eastman, Cynthia at Providence Point, Redmond Ridge Trilogy, Snoqualmie Ridge. You know, I help some HOAs over in Sammamish. I have friends that live there, and they're bouncing off the walls with stuff. So, you know, that's been my savior through all of this. Like, how are you handling this? How are you interpreting this law or this change? So, even when it comes down to just signage, you know, with the political signs or the Black Lives Matter signs, and it's just so complex. You just really need to bounce ideas off. So I completely am super psyched about being connected to the Issaquah neighborhoods, and it is helpful if we have contact information. So you know, after when we're not meeting on Zoom calls or WebEx, that we can shoot someone a quick email and be like, hey, I saw your face from Tallis and I just have a quick question. That right there, just having that little bit of backup and support has been amazing this year. So maybe consider like a roster would be really cool.
Sarah, that's an
Great idea.
excellent idea. Then
Okay.
when everybody's driving through the South Lake Sammamish communities and see something amazing, they'll call Ann and go, Ann and Lee, how did you guys do that? I want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hart, it looks like you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the former Holiday Inn, which is now a quarantine site. Is there any update on that facility and maybe its role in helping to accommodate some of the homeless people?
So, Hart, have you seen the video that King County Health put out about that?
No, I have not.
Okay, so we're going to make sure that we'll share that with this group. The Issaquah Rehab Center is slightly different than a couple of the other facilities that King County opened in different jurisdictions. So they have purchased some hotels and have used them as places to take folks that are homeless, just as a space for them to be where they're not in contact with others. The Holiday Inn is set up as a more of a rehab center. The video will show you that the rooms are set up for people who might be recovering, waiting for test results, needing to be moved down from Swedish Hospital because they tested positive and they've had treatment at the hospital, but they're not ready to go home. They can go here. So it's staffed differently than the other ones. So the video has a lot of information. I would love it if you shared it around in your community.
Okay,
King County has extended their lease due to the fact that we are not moving as quickly as anybody had expected. So, and the city of Issaquah is reimbursed for any expenses that we have related to it. So if our ambulances, fire trucks, police officers do anything for it, they record it through our time card system, and King County has been paying our bills. So
Okay,
they've been a pretty good partner.
Very good.
Great. I don't see anyone else who raised their hand. I want to make a quick plug for our Notify Me tool on our website. It's issaquahwa.gov/notify-me. We have restructured our news items so that we are sending news out by neighborhood. So please help us in promoting that tool so that you receive our neighborhood-specific news. And I love the idea of a roster. I'll start thinking of ways we can share that. So I'll get working on that. And I'll try again to do another one our next seasons in the next 3 months or so. Getting the group together. Like I said before, we had over 30 who RSVP'd. So hopefully we can grow this group too.
That is great, Autumn. And also I really liked Councilmember Ray's idea about we can set an agenda that actually prompts that kind of dialogue between the different neighborhoods where, you know, we in the chat box can list which neighborhoods are here, and then we can go through each one and say, give them each a time to talk and share ideas and ask questions. I thought that was a great suggestion. Really like that. Well, I want to thank Autumn and her team, Thomas, for putting this on and coordinating it. I love the stuff. I love it that our council members are coming and hearing this and that we're recording it and we can share it with everybody, which is great. We got a couple of follow-up to-dos on this. And again, I think depending on a seasonal change and maybe a phase change for COVID, this is just a great, great group and a great network for us to work with in the community because you know your neighbors, you know your community, and you have ways of reaching them that I do not. So That's fantastic. Thank you guys for spending all the time with us tonight, and stay healthy, stay well. We'll talk to you soon.